Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm Abby Small, and today's deck we have is a Spider-Man protection deck with 44 cards called No Pain, No Gain, a Rogue-Lite deck. This deck was inspired by Winning Hand Podcast, which talked about the Rogue Ally. So here's the Rogue Ally. And notice she's 4 cost, 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 3 hit points. And she's an X-Men character, and she has this action, deal 1 damage to another friendly character. Until the end of the round, Rogue gains each of that character's traits, which is very important in this deck, by the way, and adds that character's printed thwart and attack to her matching power. So it is the printed one, so you can't up the thwart or attack and have that count. It's what is printed on the ally or hero. All right, so the deck is centered around Rogue. So this is basically, another challenge from Winning Hand Podcast. So let me refer to that video real quickly here. All right, so here's that particular video, episode 71. Give them some sugar. So I highly recommend it. Great video. So in any case, that's what inspired it, and I built this deck for that reason. Let's head back, and I'm really glad I built this deck because it made me get my creative juices flowing to build something a little different than I'd seen before. So let's go check it out. All right, so let's get to the big idea of this deck. So the reason it's called No Pain, No Gain is because the goal is to get Rogue out, at least eventually. There was one game that Rogue actually never came out. I mean, it's a strong deck, period, but it's definitely enhanced by Rogue. And she is going to be dealing 1 damage to a friendly character. So there's the pain that's being created, and she gets a gain. But because this is a Web Warrior deck, there is more gain to be had, but also some more pain because we also have 3 copies of Taunt. So Taunt is a 1-cost event, and it has a hero action. The villain attacks you. Other characters cannot defend against this attack. And then you will draw 3 cards. So realize that you will get attacked first. However, in Peter Parker, this is more powerful than usual. So if you look at Peter Parker's ability, so first of all, notice he's an Avenger, not a Web Warrior. So that's important to the build here. Which, by the way, when I used to play Peter Parker, if I ever felt like making him, I would house rule and make him a Web Warrior instead of an Avenger. That's always an option if somebody wants to house rule. That's what I used to do before I became a content creator, and also before I wanted to publish decks as well. So in any case, let's keep going here, right? So Avenger, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense, 10 hit points, a hand size of 5, and has Spider Sense. Interrupt. When the villain initiates an attack against you, draw 1 card. So when you play Taunt, you'll actually draw a card immediately. Then the villain will attack you. The other characters can't defend, and you'll draw 3 cards. However, you can defend, and that's really handy because Peter Parker has a defense of 3, but also he has 2 copies of his backflip in this deck, and has this interrupt. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, prevent all of that damage. On top of that, sometimes you just don't really care if you take the damage because, we have the support Aunt May built into his deck, and is only a 1-cost support, has the persona trait, alter ego action, exhaust Aunt May, heal 4 damage from Peter Parker. Now, in a lot of decks, that actually ends up being 8 damage because you flip down to alter ego, you heal for 4 damage, and then when your next turn starts, you heal for 4 damage again, getting 8 out of that. But in this deck, I don't think I did that a single time because pretty much every time you're actually going to get attacked in this deck because we have in it Ready for a Fight, and we have 3 copies of it. It's a cost of 1. So you might be wondering why we have so many copies of these cards, and we have 41 cards or 44 cards in the deck. And that is because it has a tremendous amount of card draw. So part of that card draw comes from the whole Web Warrior aspect of it too, right? So the Web of Life and Destiny, ignore this card's resource cost of your identity, has the Web Warrior trait. Of course, Spider-Man does not have the Web Warrior trait. And then it has this response after a Web Warrior ally leaves play, choose a player, that player draws a card. So that is why we have 2 copies of Warrior of the Great Web in here. So again, you could get rid of these 2 copies easily if you house ruled. But if you're not planning on house ruling, that's why I have 2 copies of this in here. So a cost of 1, it's an upgrade called Warrior of the Great Web, attached to a character with Spider in its title. Notice Spider-Man has Spider in his title. Attached character gains the Web Warrior trait and has this response: after a Web Warrior ally leaves play, attached character gets +1 ATK until the end of the phase. And 2 copies are in here just so that's more likely to happen a bit faster. Normally I might not care about that, but we do have 3 characters in this deck that can't be played, 3 allies in this deck that can't be played, at least from hand, unless you have the Web Warrior trait. So that includes Ghost Spider and let's see, who else? Oh, and then Spider, so SPDR and Spider-Man Otto Octavius. They can be brought into play using Across the Spider-Verse, but it's definitely preferred for at least 2 of them to play them. For 1 of them to play them from your hand. That would be Spider-Man Otto Octavius, to play him from your hand. So let's look at those elements of card draw. So first of all, once we have the Web of Life and Destiny in play, and especially if Peter Parker is a Web Warrior, then anytime one of these Web Warriors leaves play, you can draw a card. Well, with Rogue in the deck, part of your goal is to actually have them leave play more quickly so that you can draw more cards. So you'll want to do it strategically, of course, to make sure you have all the defense you need, everything you need that's out in play for the villain's turn. But there are 9 allies in here, so it tends to be very easy to get those allies out into play, or at least some of those allies into play. And so when Rogue deals this 1 damage, sometimes it'll be the last damage so that the next turn they might defend and then leave play, and sometimes it might be the last damage and they will leave play right then. And even sometimes it'll be, after her turn, it'll be her last damage. But no matter what, she gets this ability to hit harder, but also contribute to making Web Warriors leave play, and therefore triggering Web of Life and Destiny's response and drawing a card. So that part ends up adding a lot of card draw. Plus, when Rogue chooses a Web Warrior, she then gets the Web Warrior's trait, and when she leaves play, she draws a card. And on top of that, we have, I might as well talk about Spider right now too, right? So when she comes out into play, or when she's defeated rather, add Spider to your hand if she was defeated by taking excess consequential damage, so she can come to your hand and also trigger Web of Life and Destiny to draw a card. And then we also have Spider-Man Otto Octavius, whose response is after you play Spider-Man from your hand, ready and upgrade you control. If that upgrade has the tech trait, draw a card. And Spider-Man does have 2 web shooters that would draw him a card if he readied those cards. And then, of course, now they're resource generators. He still even benefits from doing this with Ingenuity, even though it's not a tech upgrade. It'll at least ready that, and you can still generate a mental resource. All right, so let's look at what else we have. I think did I already mention I have Ready for a Fight? I'm not positive I did. This is going in. I can't think of a deck yet that I wouldn't put these 3 copies in, but the 3 copies of Ready for a Fight, right? Notice you do have to play it with the physical resource, and it has an interrupt when an enemy would scheme. Discard Ready for a Fight, change the hero form, that enemy attacks you instead. So one of the ways we guarantee that that's going to happen, that we have the physical resource, although a lot of times it came from my hand, there are a number of physical resource cards in the deck, but we guarantee that with Quinn Carrier, right? So Spider-Man is an Avenger, and so you can play only if your identity has the Avenger trait, resource, exhaust Quinn Carrier, generate a wild resource. But to help get that out as well, we also have Build Support. And Build Support, if you already have Quinn Carrier out, Build Support can help get Web of Life and Destiny into play, or even Aunt May, although I never had to do that. All right, so other source of a card draw, we already mentioned Taunt can draw you 3 cards. We have Moon Girl, has the Genius trait. It can only be played if you have the Genius or Champion trait, and Spider-Man has the Genius trait in his alter ego side. By the way, on that side, he has a hand size of 6, and he has the Scientist ability, resource generate a wild resource, limit once per round. So that helps to play Moon Girl as well, because every wild resource you use to pay for her, you get to draw a card. So that helps. That's also why, by the way, we have 2 copies of The Power in All of Us. That also helps with her and the other allies to get them into play, but also helps to get in to play the Quinn Carrier if necessary, Web of Life and Destiny if, Peter Parker is not yet a web warrior. So that can help play that as well, helps get out Ingenuity. So it's just, they're very useful resources throughout the card. And then we have Nick Fury, who can also draw you 2 cards as well. And then Ghost Spider has kind of an extra way of drawing you cards. You actually get to pick that card, right? So when Ghost Spider leaves play, search your deck for an identity-specific event and add it to your hand. And we have a bunch of, a lot of his cards are very valuable, his events, right? So we already mentioned the backflips, but he has his 3 great attacks, swinging web kicks that can do 8 damage. But even his enhanced spider sense can be highly valuable too. Okay. All right. So other elements of card draw, we also have Face the Past. This is an interesting card in this deck because if you look at his villain, right? So here's what this card does as a reminder, or maybe some of you don't know. So hero action, search the encounter deck, discard pile, and set aside area for your nemesis minion, reveal it. Then after you reveal it, then you get to ready your hero and draw 3 cards. You cannot attack the villain this phase. Remove this card from the game. So when you reveal it, so his enemy, his nemesis minion, has Quick Strike and attacks for 3. So that part triggers first, and assuming I'm playing this right, they would attack. I would defend for 3, so the end of that attack would trigger, right? So because look, it says reveal it, and Quick Strike, when it's revealed, Quick Strike occurs right away. So I would go ahead and defend with Peter Parker. If I could, then I could ready the hero and draw the 3 cards. You cannot attack the villain this phase, but then you remove this from the game. And then other elements of card draw, I think that might be it. Let's see. Okay. And I do want to reinforce again that when he uses Taunt, he gets to draw a card right away, and then he draws the extra 3 cards that the card Taunt draws, right? So there's a huge amount of card draw. So I don't mind at all that this has 44 cards because I was getting all the cards I needed. I never had any trouble getting the cards I needed out into play. I want to mention a few other cards that are special. I have just 1 copy of Indomitable with all the card draw in here. I got this out, once or twice a game so that when Spider-Man defended, right? So this is a 1-cost upgrade. Has a response after your hero defend, discard an Indomitable, ready your hero. So once or twice a game, that would occur because of all the card draw. It was very easy to get this card into play and to get to it. And then also had 1 copy of Protective Training. So this is a way to get more out of Rogue. So it has 1-cost upgrade, and it's a training attached to an X-Men ally, max 1 training upgrade per ally. Attached ally gets plus 3 hit points. So that gives Rogue already has 3, so that's 6 hit points if I have this on Rogue. And I got this on Rogue probably a good, more than half the time for sure. It felt like maybe 3/4 of the games I actually got that out on Rogue so that Rogue could continually use her ability. But sometimes I didn't, and I still didn't care that much if she was defeated and drew me a card because she had used her ability and become a web warrior till the end of the round. So no matter what, I was still, happy either way. But that card was really nice to allow her to do, 4 each time. That's 6 opportunities to deal 4 damage and 4 thwart, or perhaps 3 thwart in a turn. So very powerful in any case anyway. All right. So Spider-Man, in any case, one of my favorite heroes for sure, and he was listed in, I think is maybe number 4 or something like that. Certainly was in my top 10 in that recent video that I put out in at least in the recent list, my updated list. So very quickly here, let's talk about the villains I play tested this against. He was undefeated, really dominant against Claw. And each time I played in Standard and Expert against Claw, Black Widow, Baron Zemo. He was the new addition to my 4 villains in this case for this round of plays, and then also Magneto. So very powerful, very fun deck. I think I've mentioned this plenty of times before. Card draw is my favorite game mechanic. And I actually really love having Taunt in a deck, but I can't always make it work very well. And it worked. It worked one of the best ever in the Spider-Man deck with getting 4 cards to draw instead of the usual 3. Him having great defense, him able to get healed easily, and then him sometimes just not taking damage at all if he had backflip, and we're drawing so many cards. So backflip very often came into my hand when I was using Taunt. I would say, probably probably a third. It would be exaggerations to say half the time, but I would say about a third of the time I would play Taunt and then play Taunt again because I would draw into another one and still be able to handle it. So it was pretty cool just how many cards I could get into my deck because, of course, I draw other cards that would also draw me more cards or all the other card draw that I mentioned in this deck. So it was really fun to play this theme for a deck. No pain, no gain. You're meant to have your Web Warriors defeated in this so that you can draw cards. I wasn't trying to keep them out a long time. I wanted to get them out. One cool play that happened regularly was I would have Rogue in play and then get either Spider or Spider-Man Auto Octavius, and those two only have 2 health. So I would do 1 damage to them immediately when they came out with Rogue and add their attack or thwart to what she was doing, and then they would activate and go ahead and do their attack or thwart, leave play, and draw another card. So that was actually a really cool kind of sneaky way to take advantage of the fact that they only had 2 health to continue to draw more cards. Okay, and then the last thing is the deck refinements. I originally had Render Medical Aid, which is a player side scheme that that can give you a total. Once you defeat it, it only costs 0, and it heals a total of 5 damage from my characters. It certainly worked well, but there were other cards that were more important, and I had added Indomitable to the deck and a 3rd copy of Taunt. I had 2 copies originally, but it was working so well. I said I got to get a 3rd copy in there. And going up to 44 cards, I didn't care because I was just getting so much card draw, including from Taunt, that the extra copy of Taunt just made the deck even more efficient. All right, that's it for today. If you happen to like this type of content, please like and subscribe. And I love conversing with people in the comments section, so feel free to comment. Have a great one, everybody.